BBC is accused of fabricating a quote that one of their reporters published and then later deleted. Now, the quote was allegedly from an Iranian citizen living in Tehran who called for Tehran to be nuked, for Iran to be nuked, which sounds insane because that would mean that this individual would die. Now, before we get to the details, Cenk, curious what your 2 cents are.
Yeah, so this is how Western press manufactures consent for Israel's wars. I mean, they're so over the top, as you'll see in this story. Who could possibly believe that Iranians want to be bombed and killed on behalf of Israel? But yet our press that pretends to be objective writes it as if it's real. It's preposterous.
Right,
and the details here are amazing.
Amazing, and in this case, the whole narrative that was being manufactured was, we need to go in and bomb Iran in order to free the Iranian people from the IRGC, right, from the regime, which is a ridiculous thing to state, but nonetheless, it was stated. The piece that we're talking about here, the BBC article, is titled, "We're sinking deeper. Iranians brace for infrastructure strikes as Trump deadline nears." Now, look, to be fair, you will find several quotes from Iranians who are scared of what President Donald Trump has up his sleeve, because keep in mind, he's been threatening Iran with genocide, Holocaust, all sorts of crazy things. But the BBC published their statements under pseudonyms to protect their identities. Kasra stated the following: "It feels like we're sinking deeper into a swamp. What can we do as ordinary people? We can't do anything. We can't stop Trump. I keep thinking about a scenario where in a month, I'm sitting with my family with no water, no electricity, nothing, and someone blows out the candle and we go to sleep." So others weighed in with similar types of comments. Now, the BBC, though, is accused of fabricating one quote that I want to read to you verbatim. This is what they published, okay? They published a supposed statement from a man named Raiden. Let's go to graphic 4 here. "About them hitting energy infrastructure, using an atomic bomb or leveling Iran, my honest reaction is that I'm okay with all of these, or anything else that they might have in mind. If attacking targets in the country brings down the Islamic Republic, I'm fine with that, because if the Islamic Republic survives this war, it will stay forever." Okay. Iranians are not stupid people. I'm pretty sure Iranians understand that the use of an atomic bomb means that your country is destroyed and you're unlikely to survive. So like the idea that someone living in Tehran would say that is kind of hard to believe, right? Well, later, Raiden's quote was changed in the piece, okay? And for several hours, there was no explanation as to why that revision took place. So in the new version of the article, he only states the following, this Raiden character: "If attacking targets in the country brings down the Islamic Republic, I'm fine with that, because if the Islamic Republic survives this war, it will stay forever." Now, the BBC had no choice but to respond to the backlash that they were receiving as a result of this revision. And here's what their explanation is. They say that this article originally included a longer quote from Raiden in which he spoke about the attacks on Iranian energy infrastructure and referred to the levels of destruction which he suggested would be personally acceptable to him to bring down the Islamic Republic. No mention of the atomic bomb, by the way, in that explanation, but let me continue. Raiden's comments were made directly to the BBC and were initially included in full to illustrate the strength of feeling of some of those who are opposed to the country's leadership. However, after further review, this part of the quote was removed from the article due to concerns over the way in which the speaker expressed his views and the extent to which they reflected wider Iranian viewpoints. Now look, if this was a real quote that wasn't fabricated, who the hell is the BBC to decide what people, what their readers get to know about what people on the ground actually think? Like, why would you sanitize a direct quote that was given to you by someone? That's weird.
So this is really important in how you read the news. So let me decipher it for you guys. When someone is writing an article, their editor gives them an objective. Write an article that basically says this story or this narrative, as they call it. Now, they almost always have a narrative in media, and it is usually pre-scripted. So I remember calling out Tim Russert like 20 years ago when he started talking about the narrative of comeback for George W. Bush when he was down in the polls. And I said, but there are no polls showing him making a comeback. You're just making that up. And then, by the way, what happened afterwards? The polls only went down. So I've written op-eds and submitted it to the top papers in the country. And from time to time, they accept it. And from time to time, they say that doesn't fit our narrative. Now, of course it doesn't, because I'm writing it, not you, right? So when they go to do an article like this, what they look for is quotes that'll prove their point. They're not just randomly finding quotes from people and just writing them like, oh, okay, this is what I objectively found. Some like it, some don't like it. No, they try to find quotes that'll make it seem like their narrative is correct. So in this case, did they make it up out of whole cloth? My guess is no. My guess is it was handed to them by an Israeli handler. Oh, here is Radin, who is an Iranian. And he says the Iranians would love to get nuked. And the BBC was like, well, if it's handed to me by an Israeli handler, it must be true. So we're gonna write it. And why did they want to write it? Because they wanted you to think, oh yeah, the Iranians don't mind being bombed. Otherwise, why would you even, like, look guys, you could go to a lunatic asylum and find someone who says, yeah, I'd like to be bombed. But does that belong in a serious article about what we should do in Iran? No, the only reason you would include the mental patient is if you were trying to tell people it's okay, we should bomb Iran, even the Iranians want to be bombed.
I think the quote is completely fabricated. I think it's completely made up. That's my speculation. That's the way I feel about this. However, I want to talk about the writer here, Gonche Habibi Azad. Okay, who is this person? Did a little digging into her. And she's got a significant bias that maybe should be disclosed to BBC readers, but since the BBC won't do it, I'll do it. According to her LinkedIn page, Habibi Azad began her career in journalism with an internship at Radio Free Europe, the US-funded propaganda outlet, which was described as a worldwide propaganda network built by the CIA, by the New York Times. The New York Times, of all places, accused Radio Free Europe of being a CIA op.
Yeah, but it's obviously for propaganda. So she worked in a propaganda. Look, guys, if you see people on TV or on Piers Morgan pretending to be Iranians, they are almost certainly working for Israel.
100%.
So they're always the ones that are going, oh, bomb Iran. Oh, Iran wants to be bombed. Oh, Iran can't wait for you to come in and put in a dictator that'll serve Israel. Like that's, all of it is utterly absurd. No. It doesn't mean that everybody in Iran loves the regime. No, of course not. There's a nuanced conversation to be had about that. But this is not nuanced, this is pure propaganda.
100%, okay, I'll give you a great example. And guys, I usually wouldn't urge you to watch or listen to the Trigonometry podcast. I mean, whether you like it or not, I don't really care, but definitely listen to the episode with Elika Laban. Because look, credit where credit is due. The hosts of Trigonometry did a great job with that interview. They did push back. And at one point, Elika declares that there's 150,000 Iranians within the ranks of their military that are looking to turn on Iran, to turn on the regime and join the opposition. She gets asked, where did you get that information from?
That's the first thing I was thinking.
Yeah.
How would you know that?
You guys aren't. And that they're ready to fight for Reza Pahlavi. Okay?
Absurd.
They asked her, where'd you get that information from? You know what she said? His people told me. Pahlavi's people told me. No.
Did he?
I mean, look, I knew that she was dumb, but like you have to listen to the whole thing because you don't understand just how dumb she is. Just how, like they're not bringing their best. The propagandists, They're not bringing their bests.
But Anna, honestly, the propagandists have never been good. It's just that if you ever challenge them, you'd be called an anti-Semite and totally driven from all of national media. Like, what was their propaganda before? I mean, the Israelis overall, Douglas Murray with it. Have you been there? That doesn't mean you're an expert if you went like as a tourist to Norway. You're not a Norwegian expert, right? Where Israel's a special ally. What does that mean? Canada's a special ally. Like, none of these talking points ever made any sense. They just got regurgitated by the people in media who were trying to brainwash you into supporting Israel.
And speaking of Murray, it was then found out that he was literally working for the Israeli government.
Of course he's working for the Israeli government.
It's amazing.
No, guys like Bill Maher do it for free, but others oftentimes get paid.
Absolutely. Now, I want to give you a few more details about this writer, Habibi Azad. She did work for Monodo TV. That's a pro-monarchy network that sanitizes the Shah's regime and glorifies the Pahlavi dynasty. She cites the Washington Institute for Near East Policy as a credible source in her reporting. And if you're unfamiliar with them, well, I'll give you a quick history lesson. It's a front for the Israeli lobby, and it was literally founded by AIPAC.
AIPAC, of course, founded it to help the Iranian people, not the Israelis. No, because the Israelis care so much about the Iranian people that Mark Levin just 2 days ago was suggesting nuking them and killing millions of them.
Now, I want to be fair because the US media, they ain't any better. So the American mainstream media is actively encouraging Trump to commit war crimes in Iran. So let's take a look at Newsmax and Fox.
Instead of being like, hell yeah, brother, that's America, they're out there whining about like war crimes. Not a peep though, when I got hit by an Iranian built IED that killed 3 of my friends right next to me. I'd be like, war crimes, get bent, I don't care.
The vast majority of Iranians want the regime ousted. They want them hung. And if a few bridges are lost in the process of liberating a country of 90 million people, I sincerely doubt most Iranians would mind at all.
Bombing power plants is not a war crime. Bill Clinton destroyed Serbia's entire energy infrastructure. Both Bushes took out Iraq's electricity grid. Rolling Thunder, North Vietnam. Lyndon Johnson took out the power plants. You do it under the laws of warfare, proportionality, dual use systems. It can be done humanely.
I think President Trump is totally correct. Set a deadline, follow through if necessary. Don't worry about the critics saying that this is a war crime. After all, Iran has been doing exactly the same kind of targeting of civilian assets in Kuwait, in Abu Dhabi, et cetera. So I think, I hope they don't do it, Maria. I hope we don't have to get to that point, but we need this to end.
Loathsome scum. Oh, previous administrations committed war crimes, so why can't Trump do it? Great commentary, Jesse Waters. You really nailed it. Cenk, final thoughts.
Yeah, he's like, what? We did carpet bombing in Vietnam and Agent Orange. I don't think that's making the point you think it's making. So guys, every one of those people that you just saw works for Israel. So they don't care about America at all. They don't care about our troops, and I can prove it because they say we should not send Israeli troops. We should send American troops. They don't care about us. They work for Israel. I was looking at some Earth Day and climate change designs on Shop TYT and really wanted to order a few shirts. I was ready to check out, but then I realized I left my wallet in another room. It's so frustrating. I really didn't want to get up and look for it. Then a light bulb moment. Shop TYT is powered by Shopify. And there it was, the familiar purple Shop Pay button. One tap and you're done. No getting up, no hunting for a card. That friction-free checkout experience is all thanks to Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform that powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Thanks to their hundreds of stunning pro-level templates, they can help your brand stand out from the pack and highlight what makes it different. They did for us. They make it even easier by bringing everything under one roof, managing your inventory, tracking payments, and analyzing your data. Plus, you've got built-in marketing tools and email campaigns ready to help you grow your audience. Oh, and that magic purple Shop Pay button that I mentioned. It's a game changer. It's the reason Shopify runs the highest converting checkout on the planet. See fewer carts go abandoned and more sales go with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.